we need to be represented. We know that Latinas will make up a substantial portion of the US population, but they're not necessarily represented across all boards, across all sectors, across all jobs.
Well, first of all, Latinas make up about 20% of the California population. So clearly they are a substantial part of who we are as a state. And when you think about it, Latinos also are mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts. So they affect many other people as well. And the flourishing of Latinas, therefore, is essential to the success of the state.
We know Latinas are publicly really doing, carrying a much bigger load than others for California. But we also know that in behind the scenes, we're not getting the recognition, we're not getting those leadership positions.
This research is so critical and so important at this time. As we know, Latina participation in the labor force has been climbing for decades, at least prior to the pandemic. And we also know that Latinas remain significantly overrepresented in low-wage segments of the economy. They are underpaid, they have poor access to healthcare, and they experience high rates of labor exploitation.
And Latinas in leadership are able to bring the needed perspective so that we can move towards the necessary future that is going to be optimal for our Latino and other minoritized population health, wellness, and success.
The wage gap is narrower for Latinas who have a high school degree or less than high school. Now, Latina mothers have an even bigger wage gap, and this wage gap has not narrowed. Over the last 30 years, it's kind of gotten closed by just a few cents, so it would take hundreds of years to reach parity at this rate.
And I think it's really important to have Latina representation within the economy, within the labor market, within education, within academia, within all spaces.
As my research has shown and the research of others has shown, is that the leadership of Latinas tends to be inclusive, not only of their own communities, but other similarly marginalized communities. And we really need to lift that up and promote it and figure out how to support the ongoing leadership of Latinas, not only in our state, but in our country, because I think this will not only have an impact on our communities, but communities across the nation.
The way that this is going to support is that we'll be able to address at a policy level, at a research level, the ways that we can diversify our workforce, not just at on a racial, ethnic basis, but also in a gender diversification as well.
Now, I also want to mention the cumulative impact, because over the course of a 40-year career in the workforce, Latinas will earn over $1 million less than a non-Hispanic white male peer. Well, of course, that creates a wealth gap as well as a wage gap, and it affects the ability of Latinas to start businesses and invest in their children and their upward mobility. So I think this is a terrific area to be studying so that we can improve the outcomes for Latinas in the state.
Oh, this is important because this is the time where we are seeing the effects of the pandemic, the disparities that are continuing to occur.
All those things were made possible because LPPI provided us with Latino-centric research, Latino-centric information. You provided us with raising issues that we otherwise were not prepared because of the lack of information.
No one in my family had even pursued a bachelor's degree. So the mentorship that I got through being a research fellow at LPPI was pivotal.
How incredible the leadership of Sonja Diaz is, and how amazing it is to be collaborating with her at LPPI on this work, on this very important work.
LPPI is really at the forefront of analysis around Latinos and Latinas in the United States. And there's really no research institute that has had such a policy focus, at least in recent history, that has had such a national impact, and especially in such a short time.
When we initiated the Unseen Latinas, we went to you because we wanted to be able to raise the lack of Latina women, for example, in the judicial system, or in the corporate boards, or in the healthcare system. We want to be able to raise those issues, but we needed backup, we needed information. And because of LPPI, we're able to at least raise the issues. Now we have to really push for the solutions.
My experience as a fellow at LPPI was great. I learned a lot of hands-on data skills, but then I was also mentored and coached about what it takes to be a PhD student.
We have LPPI that has risen to be one of the national leaders in analysis around Latino communities in just a few years. And we're really poised to lead.
LPPI was there helping us figure out how to solve the lack of resources during the pandemic that our community most needed. It was a matter of life and death, and you were there to back us up.